political solutions feel increasingly out of reach in the United States. Congress can't pass a budget and has offloaded most of its legislative duties to lobbyists and the permanent bureaucracy. The judiciary spends more time blocking lawful presidential action than interpreting law. Executive agencies drag their feet under activist judges and rebellious career staff. Inflation continues to punish households, the healthcare system teeters, and American workers watch themselves replaced by imported labor. In moments like these, people look for someone who can simply make the system function again. And that's how you get Caesar. While dictator carries a purely negative meaning today, the term originally described a legitimate emergency office in the Roman Republic. Rome elected 2 consuls who shared executive authority, but when a true crisis struck, invasion, rebellion, famine, Roman law allowed the temporary selection of a dictator who ruled alone for 6 months. The point was efficiency during an existential threat. Rome famously revered figures like Cincinnatus, elected dictator twice, who relinquished power immediately when the crisis ended. They begged him to be king, but he refused because Rome was not to have a king. His restraint, not his authority, made him a civic hero. Tradition demanded his behavior. Violating it meant disgrace, and often enough, assassination. Early Americans honored Cincinnatus by naming the city of Cincinnati after him, and George Washington followed Cincinnatus's example when he stepped down after 2 presidential terms, even though he could have served for the rest of his life. The end of the Roman Republic is often associated with Julius Caesar being named dictator for life. The underlying crisis, however, predated him. Rome's elites consolidated land, squeezing citizens out of ownership, imported a large slave class that drove down wages, and ignored the growing unrest. The Senate refused to act and violence broke out. Any of this sound familiar? Caesar marched on Rome, won a civil war, and took power. He reformed the calendar, overhauled the justice system, cut welfare, and enacted land reforms. He was popular with the public, but enraged the ruling class by destroying their privileges. His assassination ended his rule, but not the transformation he initiated. The Republic was finished. It would be an empire from here on out. In his book, Decline of the West, Oswald Spengler argued that civilizations follow a life cycle: birth, growth, decline, and death, just like any living thing. In the late stage, societies fall under the control of bureaucratic oligarchies powered by money. Rules remain on paper, but decisions always serve wealthy interests. Economic mobility collapses, the public is effectively locked out. These eras are marked by deep cultural divide. A decadent urban elite begin to live in ways utterly foreign to the people they rule. Wealth concentrates in cities, cosmopolitan values take hold, and citizens no longer recognize their own country. When legislative bodies fail, bureaucracies become unchallengeable, and moneyed elites block ordinary people from their own society. Spengler argued that a Caesar figure reliably emerges, a leader who sweeps aside gridlock and imposes order. Not necessarily a tyrant in the cartoonish sense, but a figure who commands enough power to break the stalemate. Now, the danger is obvious. Once such a leader accumulates that power, nothing guarantees that he'll give it back. Caesar may save the nation, transform it, or accelerate its decline. What's certain, however, is that once he arrives, the political order changes rapidly. It's hard not to look at today's United States and see a similar pattern emerging. Donald Trump isn't Caesar, but he's been forced to govern through executive order because Congress refuses to act and the bureaucracy works to undermine him. Activists hold No Kings rallies while Steve Bannon urges Trump to return in 2028. Passionate positions create momentum, and what begins as rhetoric can become a real possibility. Once an idea becomes a constant point of reference, even in its opposition, it gains a form of inevitability. That's the nature of political hyperstition. If Americans want to avoid a real Caesar, the only solution is to fix the problems that make one appealing. Caesar doesn't appear because the existing powers pushed too far, but because they refused to act decisively when action was needed. The borders must be closed. Replacement labor through expanded visa programs must end. Inflation must be crushed. Foreign adventurism must stop. Policy must shift away from elite wealth extraction and towards enabling young Americans to buy homes and start families. The cultural divide must narrow, and shared values must be restored. None of this is easy. All of it is essential. If these challenges remain unanswered, no one should be surprised when Caesar finally arrives. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do so. If you'd like to get these broadcasts as podcasts, remember you need to subscribe to the Auron MacIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform, and when you do, if you leave a rating or review, it really helps with the algorithm magic. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, or Gab, or Substack, or Instagram, if you'd like to watch these videos on Rumble or Odyssey, the links to do all of that are down below in the description, and of course you can watch all of my shows and read all of my columns at The Blaze. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.